Sure, man. Thank you so much.
See you.
Good morning, Harichandra ma'am.
Yeah, morning everyone.
Ma'am, we are ready to begin. So, India is the cradle of the human race, the birthplace of human speech, the mother of history, the grandmother of legends, and the great great grandmother of traditions. Mark Twain. Good morning, one and all. It gives us immense pleasure in welcoming you to Building India INC, the annual flagship business summit of Department of Management Studies IIT Delhi. DMS IIT Delhi is an established name not only in the academic fraternity but also in the corporate world. The department envisions attaining global prominence through value based management education, driven by high impact research. The department's mettle can be recognized by its eminent faculty, the research it performs, and the bolstering environment it provides to the students through industry interaction and its unique pedagogy. Building India INC is a platform that brings together the country's greatest mind in business, economics, and innovation to discuss issues that touch the lives of Indians. The Business Summit is known for raising topics of contemporary Indian relevance, discussing possible solutions to problem voiced by practitioners, and deliberating best practices to translate India's experience to propel remarkable growth. This year, the theme of Building India INC is Revamping India, an homage to the past, a stand for the present, and a dream for the future. In the past, India has led the development of civilizations for thousands of years. Its incredible history has left a legacy of glorious culture, deep rooted traditions, rich philosophy, and great literature. Modern India now must do the same. It must work together towards progress and development while honoring its inheritance. With the shift in the global landscape, India's prominence is rising, as seen from the growth of its economy, its importance in the IT sector, and its technological advancement in defense and space technology. Revamping India presents the opportunity to understand what India's development story should be. It's not only about making India the best in the global store and winning favors in the world, it is about becoming a preferred partner for the worldwide community, sharing knowledge, and practicing cross cultural collaboration with our neighbors, while making progress in business, science, and technology. We welcome our chief guest of the occasion, Honorable Harichandna ma'am, and our esteemed professor and the students to our flagship event. It is also our great honor to welcome our esteemed faculty, Professor Sonali Jain ma'am, to the gathering. We request ma'am to please address the August gathering.
You want me to speak or
Our faculty coordinator is here, ma'am. She's ma'am. I think she's facing some issues. We'll revert back to her. We can go ahead. Um, we would like to welcome our chief guest of the occasion, Honorable Miss Hari Chandna Dasari ma'am, in the auspicious gathering. Honorable Hari Chandna ma'am currently serves as collector and district magistrate of Narayanpet, Telangana, and is one of the most distinguished IAS officer in India. Ma'am belongs to the 2010 batch of IAS. A model bureaucrat and an excellent social innovators are the few adjectives that have been used to describe her. According to Ma'am, immersing oneself in implementing innovative ideas that help in creating more sustainable environment, thus enhancing the quality of lives of the people, gives the reason and meanings for her job. Honorable Harichandna ma'am has worked extensively in the Municipal and Urban Administration Department as Zonal Municipal Commissioner, Greater Municipal Corporation of Hyderabad for 5 years. Ma'am has a rich experience of working across sectors and has taken up many initiatives on sustainability, innovation, governance, and on ecological frontiers. Ma'am created the first ISO 14001 2015 Green Certified Public Office in Telangana and executed India's longest extra dorsal cable stay bridge and lakefront restoration and development project on Durgam Cheru Lake, Hyderabad. Honorable Ma'am has successfully taken up the Arunya initiative that allows local artisans and weavers to sell their beautiful products globally. Ma'am has brought digital education closer to children by teaching coding skills to 650 rural youngsters in collaboration with the University of Texas at Dallas. She has also successfully handled UNDP project funded by the World Bank. Ma'am is an alumnus of the London School of Economics and the University of Hyderabad. Ma'am, we invite you to kindly share your wealth of wisdom with us. The stage is all yours, ma'am.
Thank you, Arnav. And first of all, a very good morning to all the bright young faces I see out here and all your faculty, my co panelists. So, a very I should say a very enthusiastic crowd I can see. So very nice to see such a positivity and such good thoughts from all of you. In fact, when I saw your caption, "Building India INC," it's actually very futuristic and very ambitious. And let me start this by saying, when I graduated in 2006, and at that time, India was on the cusp of greatness that we see today. When I was abroad, I was graduating from the London School of Economics. And at that time, there was so much positivity, so much energy, and so much expectation coming out of what India would do. At that time, as you all know, going abroad was the norm, and people were very happy to work elsewhere and share our talents elsewhere. So at that time, it was just the beginning. I was in academia, so I could figure out that we could see a lot of potential coming out of India. And today we see that happening. So this journey after so many years, we see India is on the verge of being a superpower, and all of us also know that. I don't need to tell you, we have the youngest population in the world. So and the population which is educated, which is driven, which is wanting to do something with that passion, which all of you have. So these are things that we need to look for when we are thinking of building India for the future. All of you have all of us have been seeing India rise. And despite the COVID pandemic, we have seen that the economy has not suffered. We are still rising economy, and we are still faring better than many economies. So where is our strength? Our strength is there in a consumeristic economy. We are not export driven, neither are we import driven, but we have a lot of consumerism within the country. We are a population of 1 billion plus. So that is where the future is going to be. For all of you who have ambitions to have startups and who have entrepreneurial ambitions, this is where we need to look at. And we need to look inward rather than going outward. And I'm sure that's what all of you are doing. When I had taken the decision to come back to the civil services, it was a very shocking decision for many, because the time was where everybody was what you call as a brain drain at that time. It was going out of the country. And when I decided to reverse that and come back. It was a personal decision, of course, and to come up and join the civil services. But not a day has passed when I've regretted that decision, because there's so much of things to do here, so much of opportunity, so much of work that you feel very satisfied in taking up these things. So having said that, I'll just talk in two parts, so that all of you are maybe and then I'll take questions at the end, so that it'll be nice to interact with all of you also. So first is about the positivity of Indian market that I've already spoken to you about. There is but many of us do not understand that we end up. I have worked in the private sector too. So having said that, I've been there, worked at a senior management capacity, and also with the social enterprises like World Bank. So having seen all that and come back here, I can tell you that we all try to view India from a Westernistic perspective. Most of us are from India. Most of us know the problems in India. And once we start changing the lens that we look at, we are going to look at it differently. I'll give you a simple example. You were told that I've worked as zonal municipal commissioner. I've handled one of the most difficult areas of Hyderabad. Hyderabad is a megapolis. And I worked in the Cyberabad area, which is the IT district of Hyderabad mostly. So when I was working, I've done mega projects, road projects, as well as bridges and infra projects, and also done a lot of ecological initiatives. So I would talk to you about waste management initiatives in India, firstly, because first, when I joined the waste management sector, everybody was talking to me about Nordic countries or Germany. They said all the technology comes from there. All the best technology in waste management comes from there. So I was surprised. Why? And if you look at the technology, I mean, no offense meant against any of the technologies, they have been innovating and they have been improving. But when we started out and when we started exploring which of the technologies to use for our state and as for for Hyderabad, we were seeing a lot of these segregators. You know, those belt segregators. If all of you must have seen videos of them of waste management, and they segregate into glass, they segregate into plastic, they segregate into non biodegradable waste segregated. So when you look at it, what do you see? The first thing which comes to your mind is India does not have a completely segregated bins. So it would obviously have a lot of mixed waste. Plastic is mixed with a lot of wet waste. And this is something which we know because people in our households wrap everything in plastic and put it there. And they think even their vegetable peels and everything is wrapped. So even if you try to say, I'm going to get segregated plastic, it's not happening. So probably that is the reason why even till today we are still battling waste management in all our cities and in all our towns, because we have to start that segregation from home. So you have to reverse engineer how to do it, and you have to start from the homes. So you need as management consultants, all of you are studying management. So where do we start? So the starting should be the psychological factor of us, and where we need to start with segregation from home. So that's where we realized we need to start plastic segregation initiatives. We took up a lot of personal drives to start that, and we also did a lot of recycling as an everyday usage. So we made recycled plastic tiles, and we made recycled benches. We made benches out of recycled material to put in parks and all where public can see them. So today we see that these materials are used in houses. People are using them for the porch decoration. They're laying the tiles in their gardens in these way. So that starts. I'm not saying that we have achieved full level of transformation, but we are moving ahead. We are going ahead, and we need further spark. We need much more innovation, much more interest coming from the business community, or even the private sector, or the innovation sector. So these are things that we need to look at from a different lens. And tell me, how many of us have thought of channelizing our Ratiwala network, which is not there in any Western country? So if we look at channelizing that potential, maybe unionizing them or getting them together and start them into a waste management enterprise. There was these discussions were shared, and actually a social enterprise had come up in Bangalore, which tried to unionize these people and get them together and start a waste management network with them. So, but that's still in Bangalore. It's not happened elsewhere. So there's a lot more work which needs to be done in that sector. So where are we? And I can say that, India is a country full of brilliant ideas. Everybody, every other day, even all of you might have a beautiful idea every day. But having a beautiful idea is not going to actualize it or materialize it. You need to work on how to get the idea into a larger platform, how to mass market it, how to see that the benefits reach maximum number of people. And I have interacted personally with a lot of startups. In fact, I encourage a lot of startups through my jobs, various times wherever I have done this. And I've worked extensively, like in waste management in Hyderabad, where I was encouraging startups from the waste management sector. And also now I'm focusing on startups which are working on skilling and social enterprises in and women entrepreneurship, basically. So when I interact with all of them, everybody has an idea. I mean, in fact, some ideas are brilliant, but I noticed that many of these ideas don't actualize. They are not able to implement. They petter down. So startups would start with a great aim, and over a period of time, they would just water down. So maybe out of 100 startups would start, probably, I would say 10% actually succeed. So why is this? When we have so much of wealth of knowledge, when we have so much of enterprise and people coming forward, where the energy is there, but the strategy is not, the actual implementation. And there I come to your second topic. You also asked me to speak about leadership, and most of you are going to be leaders. So if you look at leadership in a linear fashion, if you look at it with a predefined definition, you're always going to fail. Leadership is not something set in stone. It has to keep on innovating, it has to keep on moving with the times, and it also has to be very adaptable. You can have a different situation today and tomorrow. Let's take COVID pandemic, for example. Did anybody imagine that we would go through this pandemic? None of us did. None of us did, but then we saw a lot of entrepreneurs rise to the occasion with a lot of innovative thoughts on mobile hospitals, on having a different type of vaccine delivery systems. Like in Telangana, we had a agency which was doing drone delivery of vaccines and medicines, so that it was a contactless delivery. So these kind of things all came up during COVID. You saw a lot of hospitals coming up overnight, which were prefab hospitals and which were built to suit the needs of the people immediately. And then you had different varieties of contactless deliveries and PPEs, innovations in masks, and a lot of these things came up. So opportunity presents itself at random times. So as a leader, all of us have to grab that opportunity at whatever time it comes up. And if you are not open minded, if you are not flexible, if you have predefined notions, please put them out in the dustbin, because they're never going to work. You might have a belief, you might have a thought process, and but only those people who are very flexible and very adaptable would survive in the long run, because there's no constant like change. Change is the only constant. So we have to take that prism and start thinking about our leadership roles. So when we think that I'm going to be a leader, you cannot say that, okay, I have 10 people answering to me, like I have 3,000 people answering to me, let's say. I wouldn't want them to talk to me like a pyramid, me at the top of the pyramid and all my subordinate staff talking to me just in a linear fashion. It has to be very amorphous. If there is a need, I have to talk to the lowest person. If there is a need to improve the skilling of the lowest personnel, it has to be done at the lowest level. So we have to be linear leaders. We cannot be top-down leaders, or we cannot think that we have some predefined notions about it. Once we start to learn to adapt and take ideas from anywhere, whichever way it comes, and however it can come, and whatever way it can go. Like take for example, if you have a factory today and you don't know, you're losing some you're not, your machinery is not working optimally, let's say, then you the person who's actually fixing it, who's running the machine, the mechanic, may have a better idea of how to run it than having calling the maintenance agency from the installation company. So these are things all of us have to accept and all of us have to work. So in my journey as an IS officer, because we are on a leadership role all the time, I have noticed that there's no predefined notion that you have to take it from someone. You have to go in a particular fashion. No. Wherever it comes, whatever ideas, good thought processes come, you need to take them from whichever direction they come. And once also many startups, like coming back to the point that I was raising earlier, why many startups fail? They fail to collaborate. Just having a mere idea is not going to get you to succeed. Just having a brilliant thought, let's say I'm starting a company tomorrow, you start with a great premise, you start with a great theme, and you have a great product also, but your product fails if you don't manage to collaborate and take it to the public. So I mean, I can give you some examples of, there are a lot of startup companies which have come to me initially with even you must be hearing a lot of these stories, a lot of biodegradable plastic. They say they're made with bioorganic products and which can degrade in the dump yards and all these things. But do you see them in the mass market every day? No, we don't. Why? Because they failed to create an appealable product. Their product is obviously expensive. It's more costlier than the regular plastic. So how do you convince people to change over? It has to be a more of a psychological aspect, and it also has to be where they collaborate. Most of us tend to ignore collaboration with government, and I can also say that from the government side, government is like a huge elephant, so it needs time to change. So if we adapt to something, we have to be cautious because people are involved and a lot of expectations are involved in that. So our adaptability is also not very fast. It's kind of slow. But then once we adapt, the change that is brought about is huge. It's humongous. So we have to think of how to match all these: the agility of private financing, the thought process of startup, and also the implementation aspect of government. So there comes in partnerships. We need to focus on private public partnerships. We need to focus on social enterprise partnerships. So we need to collaborate. A leader today is not a person who's going to just have a brilliant idea. That can be a scientist. That can be your R&D department. But a person who's actually pulling the company together or leading the organization needs to integrate all the actors which are possible, all the initiatives which are possible into it, and then roll out the business. The same thing happened with plastic recycling. 10 years ago, you never thought of plastic recycling in India. You've never heard about it also. But later on, it started. And when we started in Hyderabad, we were the first people to do that. So when we did that, later on, other states picked up, other companies picked up. So it happens that, there is a fallout effect. So if there's one company which had started the plastic recycling, at that point of time, there was just a single entrepreneur. And he was a struggling entrepreneur. He was a bootstrapped entrepreneur. He had, I think he's just invested some 5 to 10 lakhs of his personal savings into it. And he was trying to sell his recycled plastic blocks. But so we took it on and then we popularized it, and then it just took off after that. So there is a lot of opportunity there. Also, I can remember telling you, before India had started with the drone policy, we had introduced drones to control mosquitoes in Hyderabad. I know, very strange to do that. But we used agricultural drones, and we just said, why don't you convert them to spray mosquito sprayers into the lakes and hard to reach places? Because we were having manual scavenging kind of situation where people were asked to go into nalas and lakes to spray, because to stop mosquito breeding. So we said, okay, this is inhuman, let us shift to a drone. So from the government side, we ended up cutting costs by 1/16th. And from the entrepreneur side, this was a student from IIT Hyderabad, and he had just had one drone. He started that, and it just got on. Now every city, every town, and even agricultural spraying has started in India. So it just needs that idea. But he had the idea of building the drone, but it to actualize it into a physical situation took a lot of time. And it took a lot of strategizing from our side. There was no drone policy. So we had to actually write a policy for Hyderabad and then implement this. So these are things that you need to look at. You need to look at linear linkages. You need to look at partnerships. You need to look at working with a lot of actors in case of realizing businesses. So if we look at these kind of things, and also India, if we are looking for building India towards the future, I see a lot of skill gap in the country. We are all talking today, and most of us would belong to that 2%, 3% of the top level trained personnel in India. But there is a lot of lower level skilling gap. So if you don't have your staff, if you don't have your lower personnel working for you, then it is going to be a problem. So we need to even look at these opportunities. And if you ask me for opportunities, there are so many there. Also, today is not a world where you can dissociate social enterprise from business enterprises. So if you are a business, even till today, why is Tata such a respected company? Because they have a lot of social enterprise invested. They have a lot of employee welfare invested into their companies, and that is what people want. People just don't want a company which gives them a good salary. People don't want a company which would have a brilliant idea or have a great product. It is more about how you interact with your fellow employees, and also how you build up the social reputation of your company. So these the social enterprise. Again, another subject which is very keen to my heart also is being ecologically sensitive. So if you are going to make products which are going to make negative impact on the environment, how are you going to offset it? I'm not saying don't make it, because maybe they might be needed, but how are you going to be offsetting them, and how are you going to ensure a sustainable company? Sustainability is very important today. So how do you ensure that we bring in sustainability into all our initiatives? So these are things that you need to think in a multifaceted fashion. You need to work on working towards building more partnerships, more collaborations, and also working with a lot of thought process. And there needs to be a lot of sharing of ideas. There needs to be sharing of ideas between social enterprises, NGOs, what you call them, and government, and also private sectors. So once we do that, and many startups I see don't reach out to governments. They are very scared of reaching out to government or government agencies. And many students don't do that. Maybe I present a different face, so maybe I've had more interactions with them. But it is very essential, because the kind of backing that government can bring to your enterprise is not going to be bought by any other agency. So even if you think that I don't need to collaborate, I can do alone and do it. There are lone horses. They do succeed, but they might be just 0.1% of the actual startups that you see. So any of the unicorns that you see, any of the brilliant startups that you see today are ones which have collaborated, are ones which are adaptable, have moved in different directions. You should be able to be literally move in whatever direction possible, whichever situation takes you. So if we can do that, I think all of us will do. And there is a lot of future for partnerships. Even government, we probably don't have time for brilliant ideas. We are more into the implementation part. We are more into execution of works. So if you bring us the thought process, and then we can collaborate on how to get it implemented. It works both ways. It works on getting you the platform to start off your business and start off your idea, and it also works on helping people get into a new thought process. There are many times, and also many times, that an idea is never wrong. Please remember this. Idea is never wrong, but it fails because of the time and opportunity. That's what I'm in my limited or whatever experience I have seen. Like if you have told people I'm 20 years ago that I want to recycle, or I want to start a recycle plant, people would have laughed at you. So, and I can give you my personal example. I started something called a dog park in Hyderabad. This was India's first pet park. So this was started about 6 years ago, and later on everybody else started it. But when I suggested this in a meeting, I was actually all my colleagues laughed. So except for my boss luckily didn't laugh at me, so that's why it went on. So everybody else said, "कुत्ते के लिए कोई पार्क बनाएगा." There's no place for people. So why are you doing this? So this was told to me multiple times, and I said, thankfully, I had a very supportive boss, so I could convince him, and I could go ahead. And once we started, we have a footfall of around 1200 plus in the small park every day, even on a weekday, not even a weekend. So that is the kind of joy you can bring to people, and that is the satisfaction of pursuing your idea. So if you believe in your thought, if you believe in your idea, there is you should definitely pursue it to the end. And like I said, sometimes your idea may not have the right time, the time frame. Like I said, plastic recycling, had this person who I spoke to you about started his plant of recycling plastic 20 years ago, he wouldn't have probably succeeded. He would have had a very tough time. But now the thought process is towards being sustainable. The world is thinking of sustainability, so the world accepted him very readily. So once he showcased his product, he was the first mover of that product. So he had that advantage, the first mover advantage, obviously. So sometimes your idea may not have the right time. There's nothing called a right idea or a wrong idea, but implementation may take time because of the situations and the circumstances. So like I said, we have to be tuned to our environment. We have to be tuned to people around us and see how things are. So that is these are the few takeaways that I thought I will share with you, and I would leave by telling you this: pursue your passion, forge your ideas, work on them, give it your best, and when you actually set out with the right thought and right initiative, and also have the passion towards it, the universe conspires to give it to you. So you have to work on all these aspects and work on collaborations. So all the I'm looking at one of the future set of people who are going to be leading India in the future. So all of you, I wish you all the best, and hope you all pursue your dreams to the fullest. I think I'll open for questions now. If any of you have to ask me any questions, I'll take them.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I think kind of lost the network right now. So we'll just ask students. If anyone has question, can you please raise your hands? Yes, Garima, you can please go ahead.
Thank you, Priyam. Thank you, ma'am, for such wonderful words. It is so refreshing to hear about what's its future and what is our role. So, ma'am, I would like to know what, according to you, are the major challenges in achieving the India of our dreams, and what efforts should be made for the betterment?
See, actually, when you talk about sustainability, Garima, it's a very overarching subject. So, what is sustainability? Like for a person in a coastal area, let's say Kerala, sustainability is having protection from tsunamis or having protection from the sea. For a person in the desert, let's say Kutch, the sustainability definition changes to having access to water, having access to, water, food. So these are things that change with the location. They change with the micro environment as well as the major environment. But if you look at the major challenge in India today, because we don't have space, we are mostly dependent on having if you ask me, I would say the first biggest task would be treating our dump yards. Let's not have dump yards because we have burgeoning population. We cannot afford to waste land on having huge dump yards. So how do we sustain it? And ideally, if you ask me, converting waste to energy, recycling. I'm not an advocate of saying that you don't use plastic, because it is permeated into every aspect of our life, and including the glasses we wear, the computers we use, everything is made out of plastic. So it's okay, it's a useful tool in some ways, but you need to see that it doesn't turn into a harmful tool. So how do you sustain it? Means, how do you try to recycle it? How do you try to see that it does not reach that pollution levels that we talk about? So these are things that sustainability is very, again, like I said, fluid. It's very, very fluid. So we need to work with the times, with the situation. And one thing I have noticed with sustainability is you need a lot of psychological warfare. You need to influence the psychology of people. See, I got really scared when I learned when I was in I was pursuing environmental economics. So during my course of study, some of these aspects never hit me as an Indian. I mean, I used to see that हमारे घर से निकाल के बाहर road पे डाल दो. I've never seen the dump yard of my own city till I served the city in my official capacity. So I never knew what was happening. Most of us thought, okay, it's going here, it's out of my sight, out of my mind. But ultimately, it just hits back at all of us. And when we realize the chain and the link which comes back to all of us, then we realize that we need to work on it. So that's how you have to take it. It's not a single subject. It's not a single concept. It is a very wide-ranging concept, and it has to be tackled in a multifaceted.
Thank you, ma'am, for the answer.
Thank you, Garima, and thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for the answer. Now, Aditya, you can unmute yourself to ask your question.
Thank you, Arnav. Thank you, ma'am, for such an insightful session. Global civil unrest has expanded exponentially over last decade, and amid all the geopolitical differences, how can India stand for the present?
Well, I think India is doing an amazing job, if you ask me personally, of being in handling the global crisis. It's and I feel very proud as an Indian also, because few years back we did not imagine this. We did not imagine this India, because I was abroad. I was an expat. I was a student in a country elsewhere, so I know what challenges that we face. And the way that India has brought back all our students is amazing, which has not been done by many other countries. So we are changing to a more proactive global role, and we have a very strong presence of diaspora. So we need to establish that links with them and see that we remain as global leaders. Any report I see, actually, in fact, recently I was reading a ASEC report and a World Bank report, which was saying that despite the pandemic, India has a very positive. In fact, India is going to set to reach 15% of global GDP in the next 10 years. So this is a huge opportunity, huge potential for all of us, and we are the next generation. We are the future of India. We need to be the leaders that it needs at all levels. We need to have the futuristic outlook, and we need to tap into the potential which is available right now to make India succeed. Like I said, we need to have environmental consciousness, we need to have social consciousness, and we also need to have the entrepreneurial ability to catch up with the world. And like I said, one small thing I would say, Aditya, probably is work on the manufacturing sector. I can see Make in India in one of your logos or somewhere. There is a huge potential for manufacturing in India today. Manufacturing, skilling, and also a lot of ecological initiatives, because India also needs them in a big way. So these are the future sectors to look at.
Thank you, ma'am. That answers my question.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, and thank you, Aditya. Now we have Nisha for the next question. Nisha, you can go ahead and unmute yourself.
Thank you, Anu. Good morning, ma'am. Ma'am, thank you for a wonderful session. Ma'am, India as a country has a very rich heritage. And in your session, you also talked about technology, you talked about leadership. So, ma'am, how can we actually honor and exalt our heritage while staying connected with the future technologies and leadership, ma'am?
Absolutely. In fact, I was about to speak about it, Nishad. Thank you for raising this. In fact, I have a lot of personal love for our heritage. I've been doing some step well restoration in Narenpet. Maybe you can just have a look at it sometime on your free time. So one thing, I mean, I've traveled a lot abroad. So one thing which always struck me when I was traveling personally was that we have such a few World Heritage sites. Though we have so much of brilliance in terms of having of the structures or the history, the rich history, everything in our culture has deep-rooted history and deep-rooted cultural heritage attached to it. So one thing which we have probably we need a lot more focus and we need to work on it is to enhance our history and see that it is projected in the right way. Like many of us see I mean, why I started stepwell restoration, let me tell you. When I started in Narayanpet, there was we are giving piped water to all the households today in Telangana. So this is one of the most progressive states where we have given piped water to the remotest hamlets. Even tribal hamlets get water at their doorstep. They have a piped connection at them. So what happens then? Traditionally, people will say they used to take water from a well or a bore well or something like that. So they all become defunct. So I saw these stepwells, which have a 500, 600 years history, becoming sewer pits. All the village sewer connections were given to the stepwell. Imagine a source which was a water source for the village for 500 years has become overnight has changed its usage. So these are things that we need to work on. Even at our level, most of us don't focus on protecting our heritage or even investing socially into it. But if we as a community say this is my heritage, I wanted to protect it. I mean, if you see in UK, I don't need to give you the names of places, but they're actually rocks, crumbling rocks everywhere, nothing else. It might be a old fort or something, but they would charge us some 20-30 pounds at my time level, which, like, I probably haven't gone to UK in the last 6 years, but at that time also they would charge 20-30 pounds for visiting them. So we need to preserve our heritage better. We need to look at different avenues, and that's a great opportunity for all of you who want to be entrepreneurs today to even look at tourism from a different angle. There is so much potential. Only Kerala, I think, as a state has realized that tourism potential fully. But they still keep innovating every day. I recently saw Kerala has started a camper tourism initiative, and they have started a wedding tourism initiative. So these are things which keep on, new opportunities come up, new things come up. So we need to work on all these sectors, and it's a good thing that you have raised that, because we need to do much more to preserve our heritage, and we need to take much more pride in our heritage and our culture.
Thank you so much for the answer, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am, and thank you, Nishar. Now we have Shilpa for the next question. Shilpa, you can unmute yourself and please ask the question.
Thank you, Anna. Good morning, ma'am. Thank you for the very wonderful session. Ma'am, I used to work in Hyderabad, and the dog park you mentioned, it is one of the very nice places to go there. Ma'am, my question is, in the beginning of the session, you mentioned brain drain. Actually, it's a term that I'm hearing right from my middle school. And even after a decade, the problem still exists. Like, many are like, if better opportunities are existing in the other countries and less bureaucracy is there, then why not? So, ma'am, what should India and even Indians do to retain our talent?
I think, Shilpa, brain drain, I would actually support the word reverse brain drain today, because a lot of people are coming back to India. The only thing is, many people think it is easy to, have a 9 to 5 job, work 5 days a week, and get a good pay package. You are limiting your thought process there, if you ask me. because I did work for all these things, and I took the decision way back in 2000 only that I need to come back and work. But that was a personal decision for me because I was more socially inclined, and I always had this thought that am I working for myself or for also for the larger good. So this was the thought process which brought me back, because I just didn't want to work for myself and earn for myself. So and like I told you, the satisfaction has been immense after coming here. I mean, imagine building a bridge, a bridge which is a 800 crore project, and also building a social enterprise with 8,000 women in the same decade. So this was a satisfaction that I got, and this was a satisfaction that I did this. I conceived, in fact, I was there from the conception of that bridge, and we had also thought about everything. It was supposed to be an ecological project without touching the waters at all, not troubling the lake. So these are things which give you satisfaction as a person. So if you are thinking of just a career, or if you are thinking I will just stabilize myself for a few years, that's a perfectly rational decision. But in the larger interest, all of us need to think whether we are working just for ourselves, or we are trying to build an enterprise or build something which lasts. So that is where I think we have huge potential. And all of you, like I said, I've interacted with a lot of Nordic companies. I told you, right, when I was doing waste management for Hyderabad. So when I was interacting with them, they had actually hired Indian consultants to help them understand the Indian waste. So if they can do that, why can't our own Indian companies, who have an ingrown advantage of seeing your Raddiwala, your waste garbage truck picking up your garbage from home every day, come out with a brilliant strategy? So we need to invest in our roots. Like Nishar said, we need to look back in our culture and invest in our roots. We will find all the solutions. Today, the world is talking about methane pollution. India had a brilliant strategy for methane pollution. I mean, at the village level, all of us used to see, we used to have these compost pits which had taken all the animal waste, the cow dung and cow urine, and mixed it with all the agricultural waste and made great manure out of it. Today, we are buying it from Amazon. Why? So we have the solutions. Maybe we lack the potential to tap them and market them. So that is where you need to package it. It's just packaging. I see a lot of, in fact, if you go onto the online market, either your Instas or anything, because I like to eat sustainable. Nowadays, I'm buying iron kadai, the cast iron kadais that are there. I've bought them back I've thrown all my non-stick out. And these were all traditional things which were there in India. And we have started to eat millets again. We've started to change our diet preferences. We are having all foxtail millets, and your quinoa is nothing but foxtail millets, by the way. Very similar. So we've gone back to our roots. We are trying to look at it, but it's the packaging. Again, like I said, I worked on a social enterprise called Arunya here in Narayanpet, where I'm currently working. And this is an enterprise with 8,000 women. So these are all micro entrepreneurs. Each of them have a great product. But I noticed that none of them had the marketing capability. They did not have the, in fact, if all of you together and have a brilliant group who can market for them, I'll be very happy. I'll provide you the opportunity. They all had great products. Like one lady was making fig jam. It was very tasty. That was made with jaggery and honey. It was not made with sugar. And fig, as you know, has a lot of potential for a lot of vitamins and potassium and all these things. So, but it was not marketed in a way. For 5 years, she was just struggling with local marketing. And obviously, local village level people would not eat figs every day, right? So she had no opportunity. But when we created Arunya, We took this product, we gave her FSI licenses, because obviously that is what something everybody in a supermarket will ask. Do you have licenses? Is it meeting the safety standards? Is your branding good? So we invested in branding, packaging, and also licensing and training this lady in marketing. But a single entrepreneur can't do that. So we decided to create an overarching company which would do the marketing and the branding for all the products which were made in Narayanpet. So that really clicked for all of them. Narayanpet has a, but the beaver industry itself was dying. So we decided to innovate. We decided to mix in a lot of, we bought in block prints, computer prints, and all these things which can be bought onto fabrics. And we innovated it. And then now they are succeeding much better with their sales. So people have some strength. All we need to do is find the right strength and tap into it and also expand on it. So these are things that we need to learn as we go along in our journey. But the sooner you learn, the more successful you would be. So that's how things work. And see, these are things that we should take pride in and look for solutions which are local, looks for solutions which are very apt for that situation and that scenario. So today, Arunya was, when I started Arunya, it was only for marketing, say in Hyderabad, because Hyderabad is our nearest market from Narayanpet. But today I'm looking at a national market. We are selling in Delhi. We are selling, these women are selling in other metros and elsewhere. They're going for exhibitions. In fact, we had an invite to go to the Dubai Expo. So it is so once you start, you expand on that opportunity. So there are many companies like that. In fact, Okai is one of them, which I see, which has worked as a social enterprise and expanded into a huge business empire. So you need to look for opportunities at every turn, every day. And definitely, I'm sure we're looking at an India future. So many people are coming back, at least in my personal circles and a lot of places that I see. So you are looking at India future.
Got it, ma'am. Thank you for the answer.
Thank you, ma'am, and thank you, Shilpa, for asking the question. Now we have Priyam with a question ready. Priyam, you can unmute yourself to ask the question.
Thank you, Arnav. Thank you, ma'am, for such an insightful session. So, for ma'am, my question was: you have mentioned about startups, and they include a number of time-consuming process, ranging from brainstorming, planning to establishing a business structure, among other things. So, ma'am, how one can maintain the same level of motivation? And even you were talking about so many sustainable things you did. So, are there were there any challenges which you faced specifically?
Priyam, first thing is prepare to be questioned at all fronts. Once you think that I'm starting something, prepare to be bombarded with questions, even from yourself. And if you are not bombarding yourself with those questions, you're failing. Because if you work on all the things which can go wrong, you will succeed better. And like I said, all of you know that story about how the spider overran King Scott and all. There were like 8 times that they did. I'm even reminded of my friends in the civil services who keep attempting a lot of times. I was lucky enough to get through in the first round, but there were many of my friends who got through in the 5th or the 6th round. But having said that, they are my batchmates and we are on the same platform today. So they have started with me, but maybe much ahead of me, but they are now on equal parity with me. So that is how life evens out. So all of us have to take the chance, and fortune only favors the brave. So you have to be brave. You have to jump in. You have to take a lot of risks in life, but take calculated risks. Like I said, ask yourself those 100 questions. Can I answer them with full confidence? If you yourself are able to answer, and then take questions from your friends. Sit with a group of like-minded people. Sit with a group of people who will challenge you at all opportunities, and see that if the right way, if they're questioning you in the right way, and when you are very confident of answering all these questions, it works out. And See, we are all inspired by a lot of unicorn stories. Even I find them very inspiring to watch and read about. But everybody cannot be a unicorn. Somebody has to be a tortoise in the long race. So you have to think of it like that also. And it doesn't mean that the tortoise didn't win the race. They did win the race. So we all have to, we all have our pace, we all have our thought process. Like if you ask me some sectors, take waste management, for example, you'll not get returns, profits in the next 2 years of you setting up. It's a long-term investment, long-term battle, but you would have long-term returns. So there are some ideas which have short-term impact, and they can, like say, the best example I can give you is masks. You know how Arunya started. I need to share this with you, since you asked this. We started Arunya because I have a lot of weavers in this town, and because of COVID pandemic, they couldn't sell their stock. They all had dead stock. So there were some weavers who almost came to me and said, "We will commit suicide because we are not able to sell our products." So we had a lot of parallelly, we had a lot of women who were trained in by government in various times in sewing, stitching, all these things, embroidery, all this. We keep giving these skill trainings, as you know. So we said, "Acha, ye log, it's a crisis." So we bought all the stock. We took the risk of buying the stock. I made the woman buy the stock, and asked them to make masks. This was done way back in March 2020. So it was the beginning of the pandemic. That was just the lockdown phase. So we made masks, and a lot of people bought it. We sold almost 80 lakh masks today. But today, if you ask me, nobody would want to buy from them because the big factories have started. So the homegrown market is not there. But when they did at the right time, it succeeded. So these are things you need to grab some opportunity. I'm sure all your sanitizer companies also would have capitalized on the same way. Because we didn't buy so many sanitizers earlier. It was only for medical use or for hospitals or something. There was a limited use for that. So suddenly overnight, everybody became a sanitizer manufacturer. So you have to see the opportunity when it comes, and you have to grab it with both hands. And question yourself, always question yourself, always move with the times, always innovate, continuously innovate. Just thinking that I made one good product and I'm going to stabilize with this, no. You look at the next big thing always.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for such an elaborative answer. Thank you.
I think I just have one more question and I have to go for another meeting. Arnav?
Sure. Ma'am, thank you so much for answering all the questions so far. Ma'am, your ideas, ma'am, the things you shared, like putting ideas to execution by integrating all the actors, and the stress on collaboration for startups, being flexible as a leader and having partnership, maintaining social reputation for the companies, and the example you shared about the dog part, about believing in your idea and finding the right strength is something that will take away with us. Ma'am, we have our esteemed faculty coordinator with us who will be giving out a thank you note. So I invite our esteemed faculty coordinator, Professor Sonali Jain, to the stage. Thank you, ma'am.
Good morning, everyone, and good morning to Harish Chandana ji. So a very, very insightful last hour. Stressing on sustainability, especially in today's times, is very important. And I think what you stressed upon, that business and sustainability have to move forward to create India, the future India. And your simple ideas that you talked about, like segregated bins or energizing Radiwalas together, are very, very powerful, and sometimes we just don't even think about them. So, of course, a very, very insightful session. Thank you for your time that you have spent with us. We really, really appreciate it. At this point, I would also like to thank all the student coordinators who have, worked very, very hard to come up with this annual flagship program. We have lots of conclaves, entrepreneurship conclave, media conclave, marketing conclaves, lots of keynote sessions planned for the 2 days.
And the theme, of course, revamping India and homage to the past, a stand for the present, and a dream for the future is very, very apt in these times. I will not take much of your time. I wish you all the very best. And again, I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to our chief guest, Hari Chandana ji, for sharing your thoughts with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, all of you. It's been a pleasure being with you. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Sonali, ma'am, for sharing. So this brings us to the end of the session. We had such an insightful talk from Hari Chandna, ma'am. We are sure that the students have had a lot of key takeaways, and we thank you for putting in your perspective the development story of India. We are confident that we all will strive to become a thoughtful leader in the future. We thank you once more, ma'am. And with that, we request the students to be ready for the next session at 11:15 a.m. That's our keynote. And we thank once again Professor Sonali Jain for attending the session. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, everyone. All the best. Enjoy.